Hello and welcome to Behind the Rabbit Reviews. I'm Jason Godbey. Today we're taking a look back at the FujiFilm GFX 100S. Before we get into it, I want to give a quick shout out to our friends at JMR Rentals for lending us this camera. Also want to let you know that we are not sponsored by Fujifilm, so this will be as fair and unbiased a review as I can manage. The GFX 100S is a medium format hybrid camera that was released in the summer of 2021. It was later updated with the Mark II in 2024. It has a 102 megapixel BSI CMOS sensor and can shoot 4K video in up to 30 frames per second with HDMI output of 10-bit 422 or 12-bit RAW footage. It has twin UHS 2 SD card slots that can record continuously or redundantly. This was my first time shooting with a Fuji camera, so there was a bit of a learning curve, and it's also my first time shooting medium format, so I wanted to challenge myself and learn something new with this review. A medium format sensor is considerably larger than a full frame or APS-C sensor, so it has the opposite of a crop factor. In fact, your lens will become considerably wider. The 80mm Fuji prime lens I was using was more like a 65mm on a full-frame sensor. When placed next to an APS-C sensor camera, like the Fuji X-H2S, the difference in focal length is considerable. So if you're using a telephoto lens, you're going to need one that's even longer, and your wide-angle lens is going to be even wider. I was shooting with a 23mm, which is an 18mm full frame equivalent, and I could not believe how close I was able to get to some of these objects while keeping everything in frame. Although this is a mirrorless camera, it still has some considerable size and weight. It's built like a tank with plenty of metal. You feel like you're shooting with a film camera, one that's made before plastic composite bodies. If you drop this thing on your foot, you'd be more concerned about your foot than you would about the camera. The GFX 100S has a 2-axis rear touchscreen. It doesn't fully articulate, but you can angle it vertically for low and high angle shots. The touchscreen works for certain functions, but not for every function, so it took me a while to get used to. It did pretty well in bright sunlight, but I did find myself adding a small HD monitor to make things a little bit easier to see. The menu system is a bit odd, and even after working with it for a week, I still don't really feel like I'll ever get used to it. I didn't really find it to be intuitive or very user-friendly, but as I mentioned, this is my first time using a Fuji camera, so there is a learning curve. The GFX 100S will shoot in up to 60 frames per second, but only in 1080p. The camera will shoot 4K up to 30 frames per second. For some people, I know that's going to be a deal breaker, but the image is still really great out of this camera. The camera has an interesting array of picture profiles. Fuji started out as a film company, and they do carry that tradition on into their cameras. If you don't want to bake in a particular look, you can shoot in F-Log, which I found similar to C-Log and very easy to color correct. If you're shooting in F-Log, the lowest ISO you can shoot in is 800, so if you're trying to shoot in bright sunlight and you want to keep your aperture open to get a shallow depth of field, you're going to need an ND filter. I did find this a bit frustrating, wanting to shoot in F-Log and go down to ISO 100, but it really wasn't much of a deal breaker for me. I also find the picture profiles really interesting, the different film simulations that they offer. If you were shooting a project and you didn't want to do a lot of color correction, this might be a great option for you. The autofocus on this camera is decent. It has face detection and it will track the subject, but you have to be careful when using continuous autofocus. It's very sensitive and tends to hunt a lot. You can see the image falling in and out of focus. I found it best to use the autofocus to get the image sharp and then turn it off once the subject was in focus. The GFX 100S has an internal mic, and it allows you to plug in an external mic via a 3.5mm jack. There is a headphone jack so you can monitor sound, which works surprisingly well. We used the DJI wireless system to shoot a couple of episodes of No Rest for the Weekend, our entertainment vodcast, as well as a mock interview test we did with our model, Akemi Poyer.
So my top 5 Conjuring movies would be the first one. The first Conjuring is number 1. I'm gonna say it's number 1 because it actually scared me. My second would be The Devil Made Me Do It. My third would be The Nun, the first one. My fourth would be The Second Nun. And my fifth, I don't remember all of them, so I can't say my fifth one.
This camera does have some interesting quirks that make it difficult to use. There were a couple of instances where we would get set up to shoot and the camera just wouldn't record. I'd hit the record button and nothing would happen. It turned out to be a settings issue, but the camera doesn't give you any indication or message as to why it won't record. It just doesn't record. So it took us a while to figure it out. I don't have many complaints. I do wish it shot in 60 frames in 4K, but that wouldn't stop me unless I had a particular project that demanded 4K 60. I also wish it had a fully articulating touchscreen like the XH2S, but again, that wouldn't be a deal breaker for me. The Sony a7 III has a similar screen, and that's still a great camera. Where this camera excels is in the image quality. I really like Fuji's color science, and the variety of film simulations are fun to use. I also really like Fuji glass. These lenses are top-notch, built to last, and very sharp. Both lenses have a long focus throw, which make them useful for filmmaking. So who's this camera for? It was an experiment using this camera in a filmmaking capacity. It's really more of a stills camera that shoots video. So I don't know if I would recommend it if video is your primary goal. It's an excellent camera for photography. Photographers use medium format cameras for a number of projects, including landscapes, cityscapes, and portraits. I chose the 100S Mark I over the Mark II because one of the goals of this channel is to seek out gear that's affordable. As of the time of this recording, you can pick up a used Mark I body only for around $3,200. A new Mark II of this model will run you upwards of $5,000. This camera was an experiment for me, both using a Fuji and a medium format camera, and although I don't think the GFX 100S is 100% of what I'm looking for in a camera, I'm still curious to see what other models Fuji has to offer. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe for more content.
This is the BTRP Media Network.